Hello everyone! Sorry for the radio silence last weekend, but as some of you who follow me on social media may know, I was busy enjoying the festivities over at TFCon LA. Even the drive out wasn't too bad, since I had the option due to living in-state, though considering the last 10 minutes when I actually got to experience LA traffic and its lovely highways, maybe it would have been better to go airborne again. I swear, the TSA is almost quaint compared to LA's allergy to dedicated left turns. My hatred for LA traffic notwithstanding, returning to the Marriott Convention Center was just as wonderful as ever that Friday afternoon, though quickly it became apparent just how packed this convention was. Keep in mind, this was the first major celebration of 40 years of the franchise, and apparently the first time TFCon had ever reached full capacity. As a result, I unfortunately did not film as much as I would like, but I do have some supplementary photos between myself and some friends from across the map, including some of a very last-minute cosplay of a human take on First Aid, which no one guessed correctly the entire time until right before Saturday night ended. Shout out to Swerve's Bar Podcast, by the way. Jokes aside, that's one of my favorite parts about attending this convention and why I hope to make it an annual occurrence. The chance to share your passions in such a like-minded community. The chance to connect with people from all walks of life and bond over shared interests. Like going broke searching for toy robots and trying to bully each other into doing so. Mwah. Beautiful. Love you, Rito. Shoulda bought that Transformers Death Star though, you coward! To that end, I was fairly lucky in what I set out to buy. Didn't have much leading up to the con, since unfortunately YouTube hasn't quite panned out enough for me to get paid, and other avenues have been pretty dry leading up to it, but I was able to part with some big ticket items among friends and walk away with some cool stuff from the dealer room and artist alley alike. My main goals going in were the usual additions to my Nemesis console, and some nostalgia-fueled Prime Trilogy combiner limbs for oddballs that won't get made again in Legacy. Namely, Orthia components like this unopened Lancer I was able to snag for $29, and some seemingly random components I would like to put together for Grand Scourge, whenever I'm fortunate enough to get the main bot himself. Poor Ironhide's only here to be converted into Smolder from the Power Core Combiners line, something my friends and partner vocally protested, citing Toy Story and the implications of erasing Ironhide's personality to turn him into an arsonist working for an evil version of his best friend. Anyway, the customs there were also pretty cool. My good friend Megatronsky walked away with IdArm's impressive Power Master Megatron custom, one of the few incredible things offered from prominent figures in the community, though perhaps none shine quite as brightly as those offered during the Jim Sorensen-hosted auction, where scripts, animation cells, and rare figures related to Transformers Animated were up for grabs, including one of what I assume is several dozen TFA Nemesis Prime figures belonging to my friend and prominent YouTuber Kian Carlisle. Schedules between my friend groups and the sheer amount of options laid before us this time made coordinating for certain events nearly impossible, so we didn't attend nearly as many panels as we would have liked, but of those, the TFA Deleted Scenes panel and TF YouTuber panel, both held by Kian, were well worth the effort. The first one was especially important to me. As many of you may know, I am quite fond of Animated and the work Kian has done to not only preserve it and the memory of late art director Derek J. Wyatt, but to expand upon it as well, just as Derek himself did for many years following the show's cancellation. I've even had the pleasure of contributing my services, either as an artist or as a voice actor to such efforts, and this panel was no different. Alongside my talented partner, Moontruffles, I was one of the voices Kian brought on board to give life to the characters from the series in infamous deleted scenes. My contribution in question was highlighted as the centerpiece of the panel, and, I assure you, I was very calm and composed when that moment came up. Somehow, my last-minute Tom Kenny impression, and recorded literally within 30 minutes because Kian had a tight deadline take on Shockwave, made a good impression on the crowd and across social media. It was very humbling to see such a large-scale and immediate response to a performance I feared might be seen as subpar, or maybe even insulting somehow. The warm reception was so incredibly gratifying, and I'm glad to have assisted in even such a small capacity to something so wonderful in the company of other incredible talents, most of which I had the privilege of getting to know over the course of the weekend. Special shout out to Alex, aka Glorious720, and Jito, the latter of which Moon and I successfully bullied into flying all the way out from Thailand with the promise of legendary American cuisine like In-N-Out and Denny's. Both of them did brilliant work in the lead up to the Deleted Scenes panel, and were both just incredible people to spend time with, among several others. I am incredibly honored to have met the both of them along with Kian. Of course, the opportunity to engage with people who have worked on the series in an official capacity were plentiful as well through the numerous guests brought on board from over the decades, arguably the most accessible being Jim Sorensen, author of the Allspark Almanacs, Transformers Uprising, and a potential cryptid. Seriously, how frequently he appeared at seemingly random intervals amongst even the massive crowds in 2022 and now 2024 cemented the idea between my friends that he has some kind of supernatural quality, to the point where we've coined the term Jim Sorensen Encounter or Jim Sorensen Jump Scare. Not content with flexing his powers of teleportation over the humble masses, Jim Sorensen was also the first of many to inflict emotional damage upon me after I had the chance to talk to him Sunday night. Upon reconnecting and relaying that I was the voice of both Shockwave and Beachcomber at the panel, he quickly commented that he could hear a bit of Beachcomber in my voice, followed immediately by saying he could see a bit of it as well. Hey, can we get a quick reminder of how the audience responded to this character being brutally murdered? That's cold, Jim. That's cold. Worse yet, my beautiful girlfriend was just as cutting, not only agreeing, but making follow-up comments about me having a similar vibe, encouraging my so-called friends to agree and suggest I dress up as the filthy hippie that one of my idols wanted eradicated so badly that he now has 2 different visualized and fully voice-acted death scenes. No, but seriously, Jim was a delight to talk to, and I greatly appreciated the opportunity. As some of you may know, I am working on a spiritual successor to his efforts in the form of the off-brand Omnibus, the first installment of which having its scope expanded somewhat following the con for a number of reasons. So naturally, I spoke to Jim briefly about it, and he gave me some words of encouragement, a reminder of how important it is to have fun with these kind of things, and his blessing to carry on the efforts of the Almanacs in spirit. I won't let you down, Mr. Sorensen. Had a similarly fun time with the YouTuber panel Kian and fellow friend and collaborator Paper Plane were a part of, and the subsequent opportunity to speak with Vangelis, however briefly. Jito, Moontruffles, and I were able to join him and Kian for dinner following the panel, and I was able to express my gratitude to him for irreparably changing the course of my life by dragging me down into Kamen Rider Hell with him when I was younger, a fact that the master YouTuber Vampire seemed to be very appreciative of. Other guests worth noting are the incredible Frank Tadaro and Jason Marnocha, guests I'm always eager to see for the sheer chemistry between them and their signature TF roles respectively. Aside from being fashion icons and incredible talents outside of Transformers, there's something truly special when it comes to seeing them clash as Megatron and Starscream, as they did on the day of the script reading panel. The last of 3 my group could even hope to attend with how scattered we were during the proceedings. For as flawed as both the Prime Wars and Netflix trilogies were, I will always go up to bat for the voice talent behind them, and the sheer commanding presence of Marnocha's Megatron alone is a testament to how blameless they are. Seriously, you can feel the voice cutting through you in person, and the prospect of going up there and having to trade barbs with the likes of him was incredibly intimidating.
Astro Train, transform and rise up. We're going to the moon.
Oh, road trip.
Here.
But Moon, along with our friend and upcoming Transformers Distortion co-star Nezrin, were up to the challenge and shined bright as Chromia and Elita 1 respectively, which was just a treat for everyone involved. While on paper this proceeding seemed a little bit light, I cannot emphasize enough how important the more mundane activities were while in attendance. Going out to the Marriott's outside bar and grill to mingle among various groups, walking across the street to hit up Denny's or Panda Express among friends, or even going around the corner to take a photo in front of Hasbro's business office are just as important to the experience as attending the panels and dropping money in the dealer section, if not more so. So much so that in the final days of the convention, myself and the remaining members of my group made the pilgrimage to Blast from the Past, a local comic shop that some of you may already know is the place where Derek J. Wyatt's collection was sold following his unfortunate passing. And so we made the questionable choice to walk over on the following Monday after the con had ended. Seriously, 50 minutes, aka 2 miles each way, and 6 out of the 8 of us walking there were pasty white with no sunscreen between any of us. In LA. I'm not sure how we survived, frankly. Especially after braving the piss tunnels of the nearby underpass and a very familiar-looking back alley.
Oh shit, here we go again.
While we did indeed find plenty worth adding to our already considerable hauls at the time, the important part to me was the connection with Derek and the kind people that were working there. It seems we weren't alone in venturing there, as others had done so before us over the course of the weekend, and I would definitely recommend taking time to visit for yourself if you intend to go in the future. The staff were very welcoming and shared a bit with us about the circumstances behind Derek's collection coming to them, and how some of it had a history of coming from that very shop. I cannot thank them enough for their contribution to an already incredible TFCon journey. Said journey did have to come to an end, however, and we were keen to end it on a high note that Monday. After seemingly everyone else had disappeared the prior Sunday night, we capped it off by heading back to Denny's for some much-needed refreshment because after 2 hours of walking total, we deserved some milkshake and pancakes. As our numbers slowly depleted further, we celebrated the end of our time proper with a rewatch of Animated's first season and sharing what we had gotten over the course of it. But then Tuesday came where Max and I established ourselves as the winners of this annual TFCon LA Battle Royale by being the last holdouts among normal people who don't drop thousands of dollars on rare import figures of Springle Dingle from the 09 Quest for the Search toy line, celebrating our well-deserved but somewhat hollow victory with boba tea and popcorn chicken before the two of us eventually had to return home. Which is always the roughest part, even if the general consensus was that leaving in the afternoon on Monday was the most ideal time to do so. It wasn't as crushing as it had been leaving Sunday night just as the convention festivities came to an end, but with how electric and welcoming TFCon always manages to be, even for someone like myself who always struggles in large social environments during such a packed weekend, it's hard not to wish for more time. TFCon, to me, is about bonding. Whether it be finding new connections with like-minded people you may have never seen before, at least not face-to-face, or those who may have been in your life for a long time, but you may not have had the chance to visit as often as you would like. It's an opportunity for people who may feel alone or unseen back home to come together and unite over something that has touched the hearts of so many, no matter what their generation or place on the globe may be. So if you're thinking of going and may be nervous about taking such a big step or putting yourself out there, I cannot encourage you enough to give TFCon a chance. As someone on the spectrum who still struggles with keeping in touch with people or putting in the work to network with people, I've always felt safe and welcome at each one I've been to so far, and my consistent experience has been that it only gets better with each one. Just maybe don't stay until Tuesday afternoon like I did, unless you also budget out going to one of the theme parks or something. The hotel is a serious ghost town after Sunday night. The only thing left other than Moon and my goofy ass was a pallet of overpriced stuff from TF Source. I'm not convinced it isn't still there, to be honest with you. So, that's my rough recap of TFCon LA 2024. I had a hell of a time, in spite of what were likely a few poor financial decisions here and there. I'm hoping to double dip this year and attend TFCon Baltimore in November, especially with the idea of arriving a day early and celebrating Halloween in costume on the convention grounds, but I suppose that will depend entirely on my fortune between now and November. In the meantime, I'm fired up and keen on getting back to putting out good videos for you guys to hone my craft and make the most of the incredible support you've shown me. I'll be back to regular weekend streams, starting with a new weekly playthrough of Spider-Man 2, now that the new Game Plus / Stop Making Us Wear the Shitty Adidas Suit patch is out, and more art streams on Sunday, both of which you can look forward to right here every Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m. PST. In terms of edited material, I'm still chipping away at the Optimus tier list and must regrettably reiterate that there may be some delay to the first installment of the off-brand omnibus. But after talking to so many friends and the likes of Jim Sorensen, I want to ensure that you guys are getting something worthwhile that I can be proud of. But you can still follow the process as it develops through my Sunday art streams, where I sometimes show the process that goes into an almanac-style bio and on social media, of which I'll be providing all my links through my Linktree in the description below. But that's all for now. Take care, everyone, and I hope you all have a good night. I'll leave you with this slideshow of some of the few photos myself and some friends were able to take of our figures for the convention, including our respective one from home, as is tradition.